one of these women lived out her romantic fantasies with some of rock's greatest stars. Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Pamela Debar.
Number 2.
My name is Pamela Debar.
Number 3.
My name is Pamela Debar.
Only one of these people is the real Pamela Debar, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now let's meet our panel. Co-star of Murder, She Wrote, Ron Masak. From head of the class, Khrystyne. Actor and raconteur, Orson. And to tell the truth's very own, Kitty Carlisle. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Lynn Swann.
Well, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning.
Yes, everyone is dressed appropriately for the day.
Yes, are we all going to the same wedding?
I wear this every morning.
Why are we dressed up like this? The producer told us so.
Well, because we all dress like this in the morning, don't we, Kitty?
Well, of course I do. I'm sure you do, too.
Absolutely. Now, let's get to the story presented by our first team of challengers, all three of whom claim to be Pamela Debar. And here is her story. Please read along with me. I, Pamela Debar, lived a wild life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. During rock's golden age, I was a groupie. At 15, I sent Paul McCartney a love poem every day. By 25, I had lived out all of my wildest fantasies with the greatest names in rock: Jim Morrison, Keith Moon, Jimmy Page, and many more. I hung on the arm of Mick Jagger. I traveled with the mighty Led Zeppelin, and I fell in love with Don Johnson. And can you believe I actually turned down a date with Elvis Presley? In my best-selling book entitled I'm With the Band, I tell all the juicy details, including my one and only regret, that I was too young to get near the Beatles. Signed, Pamela Debar. We'll find out more about this tale of hard rock right after this. All right, panel. These three people all claim to be Pamela Debar, legendary rock groupie. Let's start the questioning with Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you. Number 2, where were your parents when you were doing all of this?
They were living in Reseda, California. They thought I was just going out with my girlfriends at night, and I was hitting the strip.
Number 3, how did you manage to elude their knowledge?
Well, they didn't. I mean, most parents don't really know what's going on with kids.
Well, that's funny, I do.
A watchful eye.
Number 1, how did you get off the drugs?
I was never really addicted to anything. I just liked to take what the guy I was with was taking so I could be, you know, on his level.
And number 2, who's your publisher?
My publisher is Doubleday.
And number 3 is the book.
Kitty, thank you very much. Orson.
A legendary rock groupie number 3. Now, by the time you turned down the date with Elvis, had he ballooned up nicely by that time, or?
No, he was still a nice-looking man.
Oh, so why did you turn him down?
I was in love with the man I married.
Ah, I see. Number 1, you never got to go out with Janis Joplin, I suppose, did you?
Not myself.
All right. Number 2, tell me about who was the most exciting. You can go into the lurid details. It's all right. Number 2, who was the most exciting person you ever?
Well, I'd have to say it was Mick Jagger, because he's been a total fantasy.
How was he to kiss, number 2? How was it to kiss Miss Jagger? Is it
better than the
how
fantasy?
How long does it take?
Interesting questions here, Orson. Khrystyne, hi.
Number 2, do you have any children with Don Johnson?
No, I don't.
Number 3, was your screenplay, was your book made into a screenplay?
Well, Ali Sheedy has bought the rights to it, but thus far it's not a movie yet.
It's not a movie yet. Number 1, have you gone in through any sort of mental casting for your book?
Yeah, I have, actually. I would like Drew Barrymore or Christina Applegate to play me. I think that would be good.
Terrific.
Of course, you know, you might be able to change her mind. You never know, Khrystyne, if you're looking for that part.
Oh, I was just curious as who was going to play the rock star guy.
Oh, okay. Ron
I
Masak.
want to thank you. Number one, we heard number three's reason. Why did you turn down a date with Elvis?
It was actually because I had just met the man I was going to marry, and I didn't want to chance, you know, risking that by going up to Elvis's house.
Number two, you wrote Paul McCartney a love poem every day. How long did you do this for?
About a year.
About a year. Did he ever answer you, number two?
Never. I
Never.
cried every night.
Never. Number two, as long as...
Ron, thank you very much. Time is up, panel. Time for you to vote for number one, number two, or number three. Our team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is fooled completely, the team of challengers wins $3,000. So, panel, if you're ready to cast your ballot, we'll start with Kitty Carlisle.
I've changed in my mind at least 3 times. I honestly, I think it's number one.
No explanation. Orson.
I've changed my mind, so we should get the president on this panel. He's doing nicely. I voted for number two. She looks like she could have consorted with the great and the near great in the world of music.
Oh, rock and
I'll
roll.
explain to you about
Okay.
music later on.
Khrystyne.
Well, I actually have to disqualify myself because I believe I've seen this woman before. Her hair was a different color, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but I'm going to bug out on this one. I have a feeling I know.
A disqualification. Ron?
I understood everything she said. Number two, when she said she was from Reseda and would go out every night, I don't know how that many most of the rock stars used to hang around on the East Coast and different places. And she also said that the kissing game was better than the fantasy. I'm not too sure about that. And number three, I didn't agree. I like Kitty. I didn't agree that most parents don't know where their kids are. I think if you're staying out all night with a rock star and you're only 15, 16 years old, that you know. So I went along with number one.
Number one. Well, the votes are all in. Khrystyne, you disqualified yourself, and for our audience, that means the same as a bad vote, that you missed.
Okay.
Okay, so go get those points.
I saw a picture of her, I think.
Okay, so number one, you have 2 votes. Number two, you have a single vote. Number three, no votes. Now it's time to find out who the real woman who traveled with the band is. Will the real Pamela Debar please stand up? Number one. Let's find out about our imposters first. Number two, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Bernadette Kennedy, and I'm an attorney.
A lawyer. Number three, your name and what do you do?
I'm Susie Miller. I design bustiers for a company called Bustiers R Us.
Bustiers? Well, that is 2 incorrect votes, so at $500 a vote, you'll receive $1,000. And now we have a picture of you, Pamela, with Don Johnson. Where do you meet Don Johnson?
He was a next-door neighbor of a friend of mine. It was very easy to meet people in those days, you know. It's harder now.
Yeah. And here's another picture of one of your great loves, Keith Moon of The Who. How did you meet him?
I was in a movie with Frank Zappa called 200 Motels, and he cast Keith Moon as the nun. It was very good casting. That's how I met him.
Okay. Well, there are many more pictures of in Pamela's book, I'm With the Band. Thank you all for being here on To Tell the Truth. We'll be right back with a man who flew across America in a plane powered by the sun right after this. We're back. Let's meet our next team of challengers.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Eric Raymond.
Number two.
My name is Eric Raymond.
Number three.
My name is Eric Raymond.
It's up to you, panel, to locate the real Eric Raymond, and this is his story. Please read along with me. I, Eric Raymond, made the first solar-powered flight across America. I dubbed my homemade plane the Sunseeker. The craft's solar-powered engine used no fuel, just the power of the sun. The engine was used for takeoffs and landings only, and once in the air, I glided on thermal currents. The flight plan called for me to fly from Desert Center, California to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. High winds and thunderstorms forced me to terminate the flight just 9 miles from my ultimate destination. I towed the Sunseeker the rest of the way on the ground, so I really made it to Kitty Hawk. but my real achievement was teaching the world about solar power and how we can learn to fly with the sun. Signed, Eric Raymond. Welcome. Now let's start the questioning with Ron Masak.
Number one, you said if you failed 9 miles away, was there a ground crew following you all the way?
Yes, I had 3 rigs following me with not only maintenance equipment, but my wife, and just in case we ever had any problems.
Number two, can you explain a little bit what a thermal current is?
It's a updraft caused by the sun heating the air near the ground.
Number three, when you mapped out your whole obviously you had to test this before. Did you think you could travel that far just on currents?
No, actually, when we made the map, it was flexible because due to weather circumstances, we had to vary our flight plan to accommodate that. Our biggest holdup was the weather.
Number one, the engine...
Ron, thank you very much. Khrystyne Hodge.
Number one, how long did the flight take?
It was 23 days flying. I was actually moving and getting back there a little over 6 weeks.
Number two, how is the engine charged?
The solar cells create electricity that we store in batteries, and then the batteries run the electric motor.
How long do the batteries last, number two?
Depending on how much power, about 15 minutes.
Number three, how long does it take for you to actually take off?
To get up to an altitude where I can catch a thermal, it takes approximately 15 minutes.
Khrystyne, thank you. Now,
number one, in effect, your plane for most of the trip is a glider.
Exactly.
I'm astonished to hear that you could go, what's the longest distance you ever were able to glide using the thermal glider?
With the advantage of tailwinds, I was able to cover 240 miles on one day and as low as about 15 due to headwinds on another day.
Amazing. Number three, did you ever use the motor if you were going down and you felt there was a good current higher up, or did you only use it for takeoffs and landings?
I didn't use it for landings at all, only for takeoffs, and I could work from thermal to thermal.
Is that...
Okay, Orson, thank you very much. Kitty.
Goodness, what's the difference, number one, between you and Icarus?
Basically, I stay away from the sun.
What? He stayed away from this. He didn't stay away
I didn't
from
want
the sun.
Obviously, in Icarus, there was the problem of the sun heating up in the craft, but I used the solar as it was a little hot inside my fuselage, but other than that, we enjoy the sun anytime we can get it.
Number two, how high did you fly?
Up to 14,000 feet.
And number three, supposing you were under a cloud bank and you didn't get any, can you get sun's rays even under a cloud bank to fuel your motor?
Yes, you can, but what's under the cloud bank, you have the rising thermal, which when it hits the dew point turns into a cloud, so that's beneficial.
I see. Number two, could you take off in this thing without a motor from a high cliff?
That would be too dangerous. It needs to roll quite a distance on the ground.
And number one, how far?
Panel, the time is up, and it's time for you to vote for either number one, number two, or number three. Panel, we'll start with Ron Masak, casting your vote.
This staff, Lynn, I'm telling you, it's just incredible. These are two of the best liars and one of the bravest men I know, I guess, or I'm going to know.
You always say that before you pick correctly.
I eliminated number three because he said they didn't use it for landings, and according to the story in the beginning, that they did. Number one had all of this wonderful information, fuselage and things like that. But number two was just so relaxed, he just kept swiveling back and forth because he knew the answers were his, so I just went for number two.
A vote for the swivel. Khrystyne.
I'm going to go with the swivel, too. Yeah, you were very good. You really know your stuff, but I just got the feeling that number two was a glider.
Okay. Orson?
Well, Kitty mentioned Icarus. I had a few Daedalus jokes I was going to tell, but I figured Pearl, I thought for number one because he knew who Icarus was.
Okay.
Well, I should have voted for my number one friend, but I did also vote for number two. I think if I were going to go up in a glider with any one of these three fellows, I think the one really who has got the most sort of sang-froid is the one I'd go with, number two.
Number two. Well, with the votes all in, it's number one with a single vote. Number two has the confidence of the panel with 3, and number 3 has no confidence from this panel at all. We're about to find out. So, will the real American flyer, will the real Eric Raymond, please stand up? Eric, I have to ask you, was there a moment where you were very afraid when things got a little hairy up there?
Not at all. Visibility got bad back east, but there wasn't any dangerous parts, really.
Well, it's a great adventure you put together.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's find out who your imposters are. Number one, your name and what do you do?
My name is Roger Hall, and I'm a host and MC at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, California.
Wonderful. Number three, your name and what do you do?
My name is Carlos Pinho, and I'm a police officer for the city of Beverly Hills.
Well, there was one incorrect vote, so your team will receive the $1,000 guarantee, and thank you all so much for being here on To Tell the Truth. We'll be right back to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience right after this. It's now time to play one-on-one with someone from our studio audience. So, Burton, who do you have for us today?
Well, today, Lynn, we have Mike Rust from Fullerton, California.
Welcome, Mike. Mike, you've got shorts on. Didn't you know this was a formal morning?
No, I wasn't. Just came over here, and here we are with the shorts.
Just came over. Well, there'll be a tuxedo outside for you next time you show up like that.
Will do.
Here's your chance, though, to play one-on-one, and I want you to meet a gentleman who has two stories. His name is Elmer Booze. Elmer, welcome. Elmer is going to tell you two stories, one of which is the truth. Now, if you can spot the true story, you'll win $500. So, Elmer, what's your first story?
Some of the most famous pianists in the world consider me indispensable. I am a professional page turner.
Okay, Mike, that may or may not be the truth. So let's listen to Elmer's second story.
I haven't tasted alcohol in 20 years, but I've just been selected the bartender of the year.
Well, panel, to help Mike win his $500, you'll ask one question about each story. So let's start with the page turner story and Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you. How many measures do you allow before you turn the page?
If the pianist has learned the last page, then I wait until he gives me a nod. But if he knows the score very well, I'll get up in the middle of the score.
Orson?
Have you ever made a mistake thinking it was Paganini when it really said page 9? No. Not yet. I wasted a question and didn't even get a laugh. All
okay.
Right.
Khrystyne.
Oh.
That was it?
Yes,
okay.
That was it.
What's the most difficult piece, what's the most demanding classical piece for you to turn for?
That would depend on whether it's contemporary or if it's a standard.
Okay.
Composition.
Ron?
Because you read piano, because you read music, are you a pianist as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You've heard Elmer's first story, Mike. Now, story number two, the bartender. Kitty?
Isn't it traditional that bartenders don't drink?
That is not necessarily the truth.
Very good answer.
Orson?
You haven't tasted alcohol in 20 years. Do you remember how it used to taste? It's slipping. The memory?
No, one question, Orson. That's it. No for that slipping in the second one. Khrystyne?
What was the competition that selected you? The super-duper bartender.
It's the American Society of, believe it or not, mixologists.
Mixologist.
Mixologist, that's correct.
Oh. Well, I knew mixologist. He used to hang around with Mick Stanley, didn't he? Where was this contest held, Elmer?
This contest was held in New York City.
Okay. Now, Mike, you've heard the cross-examination. Is Elmer the page turner, or is he the bartender?
Well, I know Sam Malone on Cheers is a great bartender, and he doesn't drink anything, so I'm going to go bartender.
So you think he is a true-life Sam Malone. Well, Elmer, what is your real story?
To tell the truth, I am the page turner.
Oh, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. You didn't win the 500, but you have a nice gift that's waiting for you. Thank you very much. And Elmer, for stumping Mike, you receive $1,000. Now, we have a clip of Elmer turning pages for Vladimir Krenyev. Look carefully. Elmer is in the upper left-hand part of your screen. It's important not to be noticed in this job. We'll be right back after these words. Well, Pamela, we had a little bit of everything. We had rock and roll, and we had an adventurer, and we had a page turner of all things. That's pretty exciting.
I never met a page turner. I'm so excited.
Well, that means they're doing their jobs well.
And we're going to a fancy dress party.
That's right. We're all going to a party. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Tonight on The Amazing Race, 4 teams left. Time to play hardball.
This is a brawl for it all.
Or get eaten by the competition.
Fight to the end.
The Amazing Race, tonight at 10 on GSN.
GSN.